Hello everybody. Today we are working on kind of an extension of what we did in 7.4, but we are dividing fractions that are actually mixed numbers today. So the thing I like to start out with when we do this is I think that everybody can get down the arithmetic, the math, what do you do with the numbers? But I don't think a lot of students visualize what you are doing, why you are doing it. So what I am looking at here is we have 3 1/3 divided into 2/3 pieces. That's like I have a Hershey's candy bar, 3 1/3 Hershey's candy bars, and I want to divide them into 2/3 sections. So how many sections will I have when I divide this into groups of 2/3? So what you are doing here is writing a sentence about what this means. So then what I did down here is I drew an actual model of what's happening. So you can't really see my line right here because of my circles, but I drew 1, 2, 3, 4 boxes, but I shaded in 3 1/3. That's how many I have. And what I did from there was I took my blue pen and I just circled 2/3. So just the little 2's in every one. So how many circles did I end up having? Well, I ended up having 5 circles, or 5 groups of 2/3. So I'm going to show you what we do with the math. And we've been working on this, and you can see some of the same symbols that we've used in the past. So 3 1/3 I converted to 10/3, and then I went ahead and put the divided by 2/3. The most important thing that you start out with, all mixed numbers in multiplication and division have to become improper fraction. So that is always step 1. Okay, so then what I did from here is I sang the little song in my head. The number you're dividing by, dividing by, dividing by, the number you're dividing by, turn upside down and multiply. So I flipped my 2/3 to 3/2, and you can see the next thing I did was my ninja star reduction. And I saw that 10 and 2 could be reduced to 5 and 1. 3 and 3 can be reduced to 1 and 1. And that simply got me 5/1 or 5. So the math works out exactly the same as the model. So I wanted to show that there is a connection between what we are doing with a model and what we are doing with the actual math. So let's try this one together. We have 6 3/5 divided by 2 1/4. The first thing we need to do is convert both of these to improper fractions. So 6 3/5 will be 33/5. And then I'm going to keep it the divided by sign because we're not going to do 2 steps at once. That's how we get an inaccurate answer. We have 2 times 4 is 8 plus 1 is 9. And 9/4. So now I need to take it one more step. Notice the steps that I'm taking to even get to the point where I'm multiplying them. If you do too many of these steps in your head, something is going to fall out of your brain at some point, and you are going to do a step incorrectly. But if you keep them accurate on your page and you write them down, you will have no problem at all. So 33/5 needs to stay, but the number you're dividing by, dividing by, dividing by, the number you're dividing by, turn upside down and multiply. So here we go. Just want to point out what I did. Some kids always underline that second number to remind them which one gets flipped, because at some point they're like, which one is it? I can't remember. So this one, I know that 3 will go into 33 11 times, and 3 will go into 9 3 times. You cannot ninja star reduce the 4 and the 5, so I will end up with 44/15. Okay, so I can't get 3/15 out of there, although I almost can. But if I reduce this, I know it will go in 2 times, and then I'm going to have 14 leftovers, and they're all divided into pieces the size of 15. So I'm making this improper fraction a mixed number. Okay, so don't forget the steps that you go through, and I am going to be looking for this on quizzes and tests. Did you rewrite them as improper fractions? Then do I see a multiplication problem and some ninja star reducing? And then do I see maybe an improper fraction and then a mixed number at the end of it? You do need to show those steps. Our brains will forget some of those as we go along. So I would like you to write these down, give them a try. I will show my work, and what I'm expecting you to do off to the side is to first write a division problem with all improper fractions. Then I want you to do the flip. Okay? Please don't do those 2 steps at once. I found too many errors from kids that normally don't make errors, will make errors when they do this because you're doing too many steps at one time. All right, I'm going to pause my video, and when I push it again, my work will be shown off to the right here. If you feel like you need a little extra help with this and want to go through a couple of concepts, please see me afterwards, but I'm pausing right now. Okay, so I went through all of these. I'm going to move my paper up a little bit so you can see you should have gotten 1 5/6, 7 1/2, 7/26, and 3 1/3. What I've done is done my work straight across, so you should be able to look at what I got for my improper fractions. And there's my division problem, there's my multiplication problem, my ninja star reducing I did in red. So sometimes you might not see that this could be divided by 4, and maybe you did 2. So it's not incorrect if you do that. You just need to have it reduced at the very end to 7 1/2. So if you got the 2/4 or some other number that reduced to 7 1/2, as long as your end answer is the same, that is totally fine on a quiz or a test. Here we have 2. I made this, I kept it a division problem, then I flipped and multiplied, and I got my 7/26, and this is the trickiest one. Notice how many steps and how many places you can go wrong, because you have to change 12 1/2 to 25 halves. Keep the division sign, change this to 15/4. So both these improper fractions have to be correct before anything else can be correct. Then you have to make it a multiplication problem, and we flip it. Stood on its head, and then all of this cross reducing to get to 10/3, which is 3 1/3. If you slow down, each and every step is not in and of itself difficult, but all these steps put together, when you try to keep it straight in your head, you will make errors. And I've had some of the highest math students I have ever had not do quite as well in this chapter because they have a tendency to try to do things in their head, and it backfired big time. And it really did affect their math grade. So for this assignment, really work on this, because I will be requiring it on your quiz and on your test. Anytime you have to change anything to a mixed number, you need to show your steps. I know Mrs. Wilson is pretty picky about this as well. So we're trying to match up what we do to make you a more successful math student. Please come and see me if you have any questions at all, and it should go pretty well as long as you follow the steps.